Hey guys, it's Maymay. Do you remember this die from last year that we all fell in love with? We have more of them, thank goodness. And today I'm making a project using it. Now, if you like this video, please give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to comment and subscribe. Today we'll be making this here easel card. Look how cute it is. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. It's easy, and I did that on purpose so you could mass produce it for all your cards this year. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is prep our die. So I'm going to cut my die first, and I'm just going to use some black cardstock because I just want a nice dark shadow image. I'm going to run this guy through my die cutting machine. Oops, I slipped. You see me slip? You can certainly tape this in place if you need to, but since I'm not using a pattern or a direction of any kind, as long as I get the whole die cut, I'm good. So I move my die machine out of the way, and here we go. Now we're going to take this guy out. Now, this is really cool to me. When you take this centerpiece out, can you see that kind of image you've got there? Don't waste that. I think you could totally use that on a card. I'm not going to do it today, but I think it's a good idea. All right, now I can get rid of these pieces, and we're going to prep this image. I can't use every single bit of it, so we have to make a little bit of adjustment, but not bad. So I'm just going to use one of my pokey tools and poke all these pieces out I don't need. These three little guys right here. These little pieces on the end help me get the die out, and this one at the top will help me get it out. If you struggle, if you'll poke the top and grab those little like sun rays at the top, it'll come right out. So that is my die. Also, that's a star, can be used for later. These guys are just kind of waste. So here's what we need to do. I need to trim the bottom off of this. In order for the card I'm going to make to fit in an A2 envelope, which I always try to do for you guys, in a standard size envelope anyway, I need to cut away from this indentation to this indentation. You see that first indentation? It's not much. I just want to take that little bit away. Now, the reason I chose those indentions to cut to is because if you go to the base, you're going to cut your images out, and we don't want to do that. We want our images to stay. So I'm just going to line that up in my trimmer, go up and down. And so you can see now I just have a thinner line at the bottom. So that's the first thing we want to do. Then the next thing I'm going to do is trim the sunshines or the rays off the top. I don't really need them, especially for this card, and they just get in my way as far as putting it into a regular envelope. So here's what I'm doing. I'm just taking my scissors, and I'm just going to cut this away at the top, and I promise you won't miss it. And then cut this away, because I did this earlier in like a test, like a little test run, and you literally do not miss those. It's still beautiful. Okay, so our die is completely prepped. Now we can make our card base. So for your card, you're going to need a piece of cardstock that is 5.5 by 12. And I'm doing this kind of cream and black pattern or design, which is a little bit different, but I thought I really wanted to try something a little different for this card. So the color scheme is not Christmas, but sometimes I like to do that. Okay, now here's what you want to do. And this is where a lot of people struggle, but trust me, this is not hard, okay? The first thing you want to do is you want to line this edge of your cardstock to the 7/8 mark on your on your trimmer on this side of the cutting blade. Okay, so you notice how I covered this up. We're not doing this. You can do it over here, but to me it's easier over here. So I'm going to line this guy up to the 7/8 inch mark, which is the 1/8 before an inch. Okay, and then on your trimmer, we're going to line the cut lines of our little, see how this has those little lines right there? We're going to line that up with 1 inch and then sink our blade. Oh, I moved my paper. Don't move your paper. Okay, and then sink our blade at 1 inch. Okay, notice from the camera I can tell I'm a little off, so I'm going to move it to 1 inch where you guys can see that happen. All right, so now I've lined up to 1 inch. Now I'm going to cut to 5.25. Okay, so I'm just going to come straight down here, and the cool thing is I can use the camera to help me. I'm just going to go like that, and that's pretty much 5.25, okay? Now I need to do this very same cut on this side. So I'm going to flip him over, line him up at the 7/8 inch mark, just like we did earlier, and then I'm going to go right back to the 1 inch mark on this side. So I want to sink my blade at 1 inch. Let me get it there because it's not quite there. A little bit more. I'm being real picky for no reason. All right, and then I'm going to cut to 5.25, just like I did on the other side. So look at that and see if that's about right. Feels right. The good thing is if it's not, you can always make another adjustment later. So that's the two cuts you need to make on the front of your card. No big deal, right? Okay, now let's go to the scoreboard. Now I'm going to show you an easy way to do this. If you have a scoring blade in your trimmer, you can also do this in your trimmer, and it's super easy because I need to score above the cut line and below the cut line. So if you use your trimmer, you can go to it and then just move down to it. But for me, I'm going to use my scoreboard, and here's how we're going to do it. Our first score line is going to go to the cut line, okay? So I need to score 1 inch to the cut line, not in this section in the middle. That's going to be like our pop-up element. Then I'm going to go to the 2 inch mark and I'm going to score to the cut line, just like that, okay? Then I need to go to the 5 1/4 inch mark and score to the cut line. Now before I move it, I know that you're thinking, but you only did the top. I'm going to show you my trick for doing the bottom in just a second. But before I move it, I want to go ahead and score from cut line to cut line at 4 1/4. So here's how I do it. I'm usually pretty good about just kind of doing this and finding my spot. But if you're not, I want to show you a trick. If you'll just take, I'll use this little black scrap of cardstock. If you'll just take a piece of cardstock or something like that and lay it beside your score line, you can run your tool to the cut line and then find the mark, and you know where you need to be, and then just score right to the other cut line, okay? Now, I need to score down here. I don't want to flip it over. I can flip it over because look, I can just flip it over and do the same thing, but then my score marks are going in the opposite direction and I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is come to my black line, and where my first score line is, I'm going to line this up, and then using the bottom, I'm going to go up to the cut line. Then I'm going to move my next score line to my Sharpie marked line, score up, and then I'm going to move the next one to that same line and score up. Now I know my score lines all match because that's why I do this with this line, so I can see where I'm going. And again, I just didn't want to flip it over because then it makes my score lines opposite of each other. All right, we have one more score line to make, and this one is at 8 1/2. So I'm just going to score right here at 8 1/2. All right, this is my card base. Now let's do some folding. Now I'm going to have all these measurements for you on a blog post so you'll be able to get to them and get to them easy. But here's what you do when you start to fold. These side flaps go down and this top one goes up. So I like to start with the top one. I just kind of do a little bend like that and I push these out of my way. So just start with that top one, and I'm not going to crease it just yet. I'm just getting them started. I'm going to push these down to get them started and push these down to get them started. Then down here, what happens, if you'll just kind of close this, watch what'll kind of happen for you. So I'm going to close that there, push that down. Okay, you heard that squeal? Ugh. And then these will just kind of happen as you work it down. But you want to kind of work everything into square, if that makes sense. I want to make sure everything's lined up where it needs to be. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and crease all these lines. So there, here, across the bottom, and then I want to crease these as well. And that way, you end up with this stand-up, lift-up easel card. Nothing new. You've seen these before. It's nothing new. Now here, I want to show you something. This piece, I'm going to link for you the video where I got the idea for this. I had to change my measurements a little bit because I wanted this to match my die. But I want to link the video so you can see how she made it. You might like her version better. But she made this piece and tucked it inside. But you see how mine is too tight to do that? So this piece for me is going to go backwards. It won't hurt anything. It'll still fit in the envelope. And this way, I have a little more room to stand my card up. So I'm going to do it like this. So it may not make sense now, and that's okay. It will in a few minutes. All right, so I'm going to just close this guy down, and this is the front of our card. Now I'm going to go back to our little die cutout, and here's where it's going to live. It is going to go right here at the bottom center. And you see how by cutting that little bit off the bottom of our die and cutting those little pieces off the top, we fit, and now this guy will go into a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 envelope. Now I want to glue him down, and I want to show you what I'm going to do. Glue in the middle is not a problem. So I can go here in the middle because all of this will be touching. Glue on the images is fine because they'll all be touching. But on the sides, I can get these edges. But right here, I want to run right to the inside of that strip. Because that whole strip, these will have place to land. That whole strip doesn't hang onto the page like everything else does. All right, so now I'm just going to lay this down on the bottom. I'm going to try to center it as best I can. And I'm just centering on that piece in the middle. And you can see what I mean by the whole strip doesn't stay on the piece. Let me open it and see if I can show you. See how some of that hangs off the edge? A little bit, you can see it. There you go, down here. So that's why you don't want to put glue all the way up to the edges, only where it will touch. Okay, so just get your little image on there. And I love the pop of contrast between the cream and the black. I think it's so pretty. Now I want to decorate the front only a little bit. I just want to decorate these little strips right here. So let me show you how we're going to do that. So going back to my embossing machine, I have this embossing folder that is music notes. And I just thought this would be pretty to have a little bit of like music, or I don't know. It just felt like this card just says, "Oh, Holy Night" to me, or something like that. So what I'm going to do is just put these guys in, and I want to make sure I'm getting plenty of the staffs running across the page. You'll see what I mean when I shut it. See how I have all of this? Instead of going to the top and getting that blank space up there, I moved it down to get all of the music. So then what I'm going to do is put this into my embossing machine and run that through. Telling you, with this machine, this is the Momenta. It feels like it's not doing its job, but then when you take it out, it does a great job. It's so easy to do that through. Dies are a little tighter, but embossing folders are so easy. All right, so I'm gonna pick these guys up, and they'll be fragile. See how they're kind of fragile? Now we need to kind of doctor these up and make them even cuter. Now, if you know me at all, you know one of my favorite things is ink dragging. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'll show you. I'm going to take this little guy, and I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx Black because I want to use black on this. And I'm just going to drag it across the surface. Look how beautiful. See how that just makes that pop? And it gives me that two-tone cream and black effect like I'm doing everywhere else. And I don't mind it looking distressed. That's kind of what I'm going for. So let's do this one as well. Perfect. And then the top. Perfect. That's all I needed to do. Now I'm going to bring this guy back over and lay it down, a little bit laid down, just lay it open. And these are going to get glued on those little strips. I just think it adds something pretty. And it'll be kind of like, wow, how did they get that music note on the side of this thing, on the side of this card? Because it's going to look the same because I used the same cardstock. Does that make sense? So I'm going to glue this right to that strip. You could totally do this before you put your die on. I'm just trying to do it in such a way that everything I'm doing makes sense to you. So see how that looks like the paper itself has that? It's pretty cool. All right, let me run this one down and just glue that into place. I love how that looks. I just think it looks like the paper was made for that, doesn't it? Cool, huh? All right, next step. Now for decorating the inside, this piece is going to fold to the back. I've cut a piece that is 3 1/4 by 5 1/4, and it's from this kind of wood grain look, and I think it looks really kind of natural, and that's what I'm going to use on the front there. So I'm just going to glue this one down. If you're wondering, this comes from the Home Again pack from Echo Park. I think it's a pretty kind of natural looking wood grain. So just put that down there like so. And then I want to put a piece here, and let me show you what I'm going to use. So I have this piece that's black. That's going to be my first mat because I want to bring some of the black from the front to the inside. And then I have this piece of craft that I feel like ties these both together, and it's going to go here. So let me tell you the dimensions of these because I have already forgotten. Let's measure. So this piece is 3 by 5 1/4, and this piece is 2 3/4 by 5. Okay, so we can kind of sink in. I don't want to put this one down yet. I'm actually going to wait on that one as well because I want to stamp on this one. So I'm going to put it aside. Now we need another piece because I want to put one here. So on this top portion, I'm going to put this piece. This piece is 3 1/2 by 3, and it's just going to sink in like that. And then I cut another of the same that I'm using for the card itself, just to add, this is just to add kind of a frame, and I'm going to stamp on here as well. Okay, so that gets me some pretties on the inside. Or I just thought about this. Maybe I'm not going to stamp there, and I'll tell you why. This is a great spot to write in right here. So I may not. There's a couple of spots to write in. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to move these out of the way. I can leave the black ones over here while we decide what we're going to do here. All right, let me find a stamp set I want to use. Okay, so the stamp set I want to use is one called Adore Him. I love this set. I think it is so pretty, and I'm going to be using this one. I don't know. I may use that one, but I know I'm going to use this one also and this one. So the 3 bottom set stamps I'm going to use. So first, you know the little piece I said would be a good place to write? I think I'm going to do this. I want this sentiment there. So I'm going to ink this one up. I think it's perfect for the image on the outside. And so I'm just going to lay this here and stamp that down. So, oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. Take that off of there like that. That's pretty. I like that one. So put that one up there. And let's load another one. Now this could be overkill. You might not want to do this one, but I want to show you. For my card, I'm going to let this piece be the part that I write on, but I want to put this image of Mary, the baby, and Joseph beside where I write. So I want to put it here on this piece, kind of at the bottom. I just think this will be so pretty to have that there. And then I can write my sentiment or write to the person here. And if I need more room, trust me, there's plenty. Now, the only thing I have left to do is stamp the "Oh, Come Let Us Adore Him." This is going to be the piece that becomes what holds our easel card in place. All right, so this says, "Oh, Come Let Us Adore Him." And I'm going to stamp this on the same color cardstock, the cream. Can you see my kind of plan? It's the cream and the black and the craft. It's kind of what I'm going with. All right, now before we move on, let's do a little fussy cutting. This is so easy. All we're going to do is bubble cut around this, and it really doesn't matter how accurate it is. I just don't want to use a whole square. I just want to cut around here like so, and just kind of make this feel like a shaping instead of just a square. And I'm not stressing about this. You can see that. I'm just kind of following the line, just moving the paper into my blade as it goes. Make sure you wait till your ink dries. I might have picked this up a little quick. Usually my VersaFine will dry pretty quick, but sometimes I can smear it because I get a little too happy wanting to get started. There we go. That's all I need. So we'll use that in a few minutes. So let's assemble these inside pieces. So I'm going to glue this one down to that first mat that I made for the top. You see my glue spit? That was hilarious. It just went, but just got over there. All right, so I'm going to place this down here. Just like so. And that, I got a little glue happy on that one. That'll go on the top. Now I'm making a mess of my work surface, and with this light color cardstock, you might want to be mindful of that. You might want to protect your work surface as you're going with this. All right, and now this one's going to go right up here at the top in that little nook. And I'm kind of imagining it as a mat. So I'm leaving myself like an 1/8 of an inch gap around there. Isn't that pretty up there like that? And then this one. This is a great way to make a lot of use from one stamp set and one die, right? Pretty easy. All right, and then this one gets mounted here. So you can see I have a spot to write in there now, right here if I want to, but I can also write on the back of here or even here if I want. There's lots of space to write. Okay, so this will get turned this way and this will go this way to go into the envelope. But once the recipient gets it, they're going to want to open it and stand it up in its easel form. So we need the little stopper here to hold it in place. All right, so let me show you how we're going to do that. So I'm going to use some Scotty, it's my foam tape, and I'm just going to cut some little pieces. They're about a little less than 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to double this up on this card. Now, I'll tell you why I'm going to do that. I feel like this card needs a little extra help in the stand-up department. So if I go too thin with my foam pieces, it's not going to have enough to resist and hold up. So each piece I put on here, I'm going to double. So you see how I laid one down, I peeled off the little backer, and then I added another on top. I'm going to do the same thing for every piece I put on, just to make all my foam the same height. Now I want to bring this over and decide where I want it. And I want to give my card a little bit of room to come forward. And it's going to brace onto that sentiment like so. I'm a little out of screen. Let me come up. It'll brace like that. So I'm going to place this in this bottom corner. And I just think, you see how it doesn't want to stay? It will. I'll show you a trick in a second. But I want to give it plenty of opportunity to stand up. All right. So I'm going to add a little glue to this. I do that especially when it's going to get some resistance. So just a couple dots of glue here. And then I'm just going to put this down in the bottom corner. Like so. Now when you put this in the envelope, obviously that'll fold back just like that, okay? And then when the recipient gets it, they'll stand it up. Okay, so if I try to stand this up right now, it's going to resist. I've been working with it closed so much. So here's what I want to do. I just want to bring this over and crease this super tight, okay? Now, you're giving this to somebody who may not know that. So you might want to stick a little note in here that just says, if the card won't stand, fold it forward and crease or something like that, because we are turning that one piece backwards and it does kind of have to do that. I think it'd be easy to explain that, you know, to fold it forward and crease it, and then it stands up just fine. I love how this card looks. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let me see if I can turn it. You know, I always have struggle with these easel cards in camera. There we go. Look how pretty that is. It's simple, but it pops, doesn't it? Can you see this sitting on someone's desk or on their mantle place at Christmas? I just think it's so pretty. And you still have room to decorate, but I will caution you, the more you add back here, the more weight you add back here, and that can kind of keep it from standing as well. So there you go. Now, I want to tell you, I tried doing this where this guy fit right here, but it did not give my card enough room to stretch over, if that makes sense. When I cut it to where I could fold that one inside, like the video I'm linking for you below, it didn't give my card enough room to come out and stand up. So I just wanted to show you that that was kind of my fix for that, was to make this a little longer. And plus I'm able to use a whole half, or not even a half, a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, so I can get 2 out of one 12 by 12. So there you go. That's my first Christmas of 2020, Christmas in July, or actually just Christmas of 2020 project. And as you know, this die is it's always going to be in my projects. I love it. Now, we ended up over the summer, if you were here last year, you know, we had a hard time keeping this guy in at Christmas time. But over the summer, Vince was able to get a lot of these. So we have a lot of these in stock, and he was even able to get the extras that are the wise men and the sheep. So that set is available too. So grab those now before we get started. I have another idea for this one. I don't know if it'll work. I'm going to have to do some playing, but I have an idea to kind of make this one 3D. Anyway, we'll see. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my Christmas in July projects or any of the stuff we have coming up. It's very busy around here, y'all. A lot of stuff going on. Also, like the video if you enjoyed it, and leave me a comment. This is a new thing. It lets YouTube know how much you enjoy videos by leaving comments nowadays, so please do that. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great one. Until next time, bye-bye.